guys, it's Maddie, and today I'll be doing a review on The Problem with Forever by Jennifer L. Armentrout. So this book is about a girl named Mallory who grew up in a toxic environment. She was in foster care, but her foster parents were very abusive to her, both physically and emotionally. And while she was in foster care, there was one boy with her who acted as her protector named Ryder, and he always took the beatings for her whenever she would get in trouble. But then she eventually does get taken out of the home and is adopted by new parents. So her and Ryder have been separated for 4 years until she decides to stop doing homeschool and go to public school for her senior year of high school. And there on the first day she reunites with Ryder and they start reconnecting again. I also forgot to mention that this book does have trigger warnings for neglect, child abuse, regular abuse, and drug use, so if those bother you, I would recommend not to pick up this book. So this book was very, very emotional and just heartbreaking, and it really opened my eyes to how bad child neglect is. It's worse enough that kids, for whatever reason, are not being taken care of by their parents. I know that sometimes parents just don't have the means to take care of children. That's why they put them in foster care. But some people just don't want children, so the child can feel neglected that way. But I never thought of there being child neglect in the foster care system, and I don't know how much of an issue that really is because I'm not really familiar with how that system works. But this book brought out the possibilities of how child neglect can be present within the foster care system. And I just like how this book really brought that out within the plot. And like I said, every single page just had so much emotion to it, and it really made me connect with each of the characters. And I felt like there wasn't one boring bit in this book. I enjoyed the plot the whole way through. And I even really enjoyed the subplots too, which were also just as equally emotional and just heartbreaking and just really made me feel things. I found Mallory, the main character, to be the most relatable character I have ever read about. I feel like Jennifer L. Armentrout took me and put me in this character, even though I know she didn't. But that's what it felt like because that's how relatable she was to me. The reason for that is that Mallory is super, super shy, super timid, and I am also the same exact way. I mentioned before how I might not seem like it on YouTube because I try to be like very engaging, but if you met me in real life, it would be very hard to get me to talk. So in that way, I really related to Mallory in that way. Even though her situation with her not having her voice is different, the reason she doesn't speak is that whenever she was in foster care, whenever she spoke, that's when she would get beat. So because of that, she's been trained to believe that if she ever speaks, then she's going to get hurt. So that's why she doesn't talk, but she also is very shy. She has a hard time opening up to people. But her character development was so beautiful. The way she realized how she could find her voice, how she could speak out, and how she didn't have to hide with keeping silent anymore was just amazing. And that was just so cool to see. I like how she really tried to get out of her comfort zone, do things she never thought she would have ever done, and when she did something that she thought she could never do, she really felt this sense of accomplishment that just made me like so proud of her. I really felt for her. I'm glad that she was able to really find her voice and not have to feel like she has to hide anymore, or to feel like that if she does speak, that's when something bad is going to happen to her, because that's not the case anymore. And I feel like she showed what PTSD really is like, and I like how that was represented in this book because she has a lot of issues just because of how she went through neglect and abuse as a child. And I like how that was represented in here, and I think it was represented in such an accurate way. And the next main character is Ryder. I absolutely loved this character. I like how protective he was over Mallory, but he wasn't so protective to where he got controlling, because I've seen a lot of books where there's the guy who's very protective over the girl, but they end up being just super controlling and just demanding of them, and that's not a healthy relationship at all. But Ryder really respected her space. He let her make her own decisions, and I really like that. I really loved how protective he was over her, and it made him just really lovable to me. Ryder ended up having way more problems than Mallory did, which was a surprise to me, and that's something I didn't really realize at the beginning of this book. But he has a lot of issues. He's still trying to overcome those issues, and it takes him a while to actually try to overcome his problems. But I really felt like his character developed very nicely because he finds a way soon enough to really overcome his problems and realize that what happened in his past doesn't define him anymore, just like Mallory did. And I like how they really overcame their issues, their PTSD together, and really helped each other out to believe that things are just going to get better from here because they had like a second chance at a good life. And the only problem I do have to say, which is the only problem I have throughout this whole book, pertains to Ryder. I feel like it would have been really nice to see a very emotional side to him. I wish we would have gotten a scene where he had a breakdown moment. There was never a scene in this book except towards the very, very end, like the last page, I think, where he had this breakdown. And I wish we could have saw that more earlier on in the book because that would have really shown out the really emotional side to him. But I can look past that because I love the rest of this book and I love his character. And I felt like we still got a little bit of an emotional side to him. I think there just could have been a lot more. This book seriously has one of the best romances ever, and it has a great friendship as well. And this book was told in a way that really made me feel like Mallory and Ryder's bond was really just so real. And there's something about best friends to lovers trope that just really touches me. And I think it's because you already know that bond is just so deep, and just to see it get deeper and grow is like, I just feel like it's just so beautiful, and I really love reading about those kinds of relationships. And their relationship was just so easy to swoon over. I really enjoyed seeing how Mallory really came to terms with how she felt towards Ryder and seeing how her feelings grew, especially because she's never been in love before, and her realizing what that felt like was just super, super cool, and really, it just felt so real. And I felt like this book really clearly showed what falling in love is like. And this book, and just in all, really made me want to feel in love, and that's like the hopeless romantic coming out of me. But it really did, just because the love in this book is, you can just feel it's just so real and so realistic and just so beautiful. I absolutely loved this romance. I couldn't get enough of it. I wanted to see more of it. It was just amazing. And a plus side is this book also had a family dynamic, which was awesome because I always say in YA we don't get enough of the family aspect in books. This one had it, which I appreciated. This book involved Mallory's new adoptive parents, not her old ones who abused her because they are jerks, but her new ones are so loving and supportive of her. I absolutely love them. And I love that it shows that even if you don't have your biological child, adoptive parents are still able to claim a child as their own and just love them as if they were their own child. I don't know how that feels like because I've never been adoptive. I have my parents, already had them. I still have them. I just don't live with them anymore. But well, I live with my mom, but not my dad. That is so off topic, but I've never been through that. But I can just imagine how Mallory must feel, just so accepted, even though she has gone through like the typical problems you have with your parents. She has fought with them. She has done all that. You can feel how secure she feels with them. And I loved their relationship. I loved her parents. I think they were just great. I've seen a lot of negativity regarding the writing style in this book. And yes, I do think it gets a little repetitive. I can see that. It didn't really bother me throughout the whole book. I mean, it did a little, but I really actually thought the writing style really fit the book nicely. I felt like it was really emotional, and this is an emotional book, so the way it was written made it even more emotional than it even needed to be, which is a good thing. So I really like the writing style, and it made me want to pick up even more of Jennifer Armentrout's books, which I will in the future. I just like how it was written, and I feel like I'm the only one who thinks so, but I really liked it. Overall, if you couldn't tell already, I loved this book. It's my favorite book I've read in 2017 so far, and it's going to be very, very hard to top this book because I just loved every part of it. Like I don't I don't even know like what else to say. I just loved it so much. And I loved it so much that I've been seeing negative reviews, and for the first time in my whole life, I never think this because I always watch negative reviews or read negative reviews on a book I love, and I'll be like, I can understand how you thought that way, like how you thought like the book sucked or something. But with this book, I don't understand it. Like I don't at all. And I've never been through that at all. And it's just kind of weird, but I don't understand how you can hate this book. Like I don't, because I loved it so much. So I've just been like taking negative reviews with like a grain of salt for this book because I just loved it so much. And this book has a lot of mixed reviews, I feel like. I think it mostly has great reviews, but there are some reviews that are just like really negative, and I'm like, how is that possible? Because I loved it so much. I've never been through something like that before, and I'm not saying that their reviews are invalid because, yeah, they are. I mean, not everyone's going to love the same books. I've always known that. But I'm just saying is that I can't understand it because I love this book so much. And I do have to say this book has really impacted me, and it made me really love the theme in this book, which what I took out from it is that, and what literally the last few pages were saying is that everyone deserves to be loved and wanted. And I love that theme. I see that theme a lot. I saw that theme in a book I read recently, which is Holding Up the Universe by Jennifer Niven. That wasn't recently, that was last year. But I love that theme, and I really felt that theme throughout this book because no one deserves to be neglected. No one deserves to be abused both physically and mentally, especially children. Child abuse is awful, and I know it is still a problem today, which is really, really sad. And this book really brought those issues to light, which I really, really loved. And it really made me realize how much of an issue child neglect is, teenager neglect is. I mean, there's that too, even adulthood, and it's a problem. And even though I have never been through these things, like I've never been neglected. I mean, I have a family, I have friends. I don't have a lot of friends because I'm an introvert, but I've never felt that way. But at times, I think everyone feels like no one cares. And I know we're getting deep here, huh? We're getting deep. Might as well keep going with this. I know that there are people in my life who do love me, but I think everyone, every once in a while, feels like they're not really cared for. I know I've been through that before. Not always, but sometimes when you're just in like the deepest parts of despair, you feel that feeling where, like, if you were to go, who would care? And this book made me realize that there are people who love you. And my memory just ran out, so I have no idea where I was. So sorry about that. But guess what I was saying is that, yeah, everyone deserves to be loved and wanted. And this book just really made me realize that. And when I finished this book, I actually started crying because that just really touched me. That whole theme just really, really like touched me emotionally and just made me feel things. And yeah, it's kind of weird because throughout this book I didn't cry, but after I read the last page, closed the book, I just tears just started to form. It was just such a beautiful, beautiful story. I absolutely loved it, and this definitely gets a 5 out of 5 stars from me. Just all around great. All around just great. Perfect. Great. Just go read it if you haven't yet. I know it came out last year, and if you haven't read it yet, then do it, especially if you want a really good emotional romance contemporary book that gives you all the feels and also brings up very relevant, important issues definitely give it a read. So that is my review of The Problem with Forever. I hope I managed to pick up the book because it is great. And I'm sorry if I look like I'm sweating, but it is 104 degrees here, and I feel like I always complain about the weather when I'm making videos, just in summertime, because there's a heat wave going on. I just hate it. So I'm sorry if I look like I'm sweating, but ugh, makes me want to kill myself. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below for more bookish related videos.